meant to be making a few camera mounts out of a microphone stand. This was actually Spicy 110's original idea, and it worked quite well, so I'm going to copy him on that. I've also got a suction mount for car windscreens, and that's actually a bar mount. Now they all have that screw on, which is great for normal cameras, and even drifts have and GoPros have that on, but it means undoing the mount, and then I just don't want to do that, because if I put it on wrong, the camera could be up here or down here and I wouldn't notice until I got home. So what I'm going to do is make, where is it? I'm going to take one of the clips and modify another one of these, so kind of that sits in there and then it mounts onto that, and it will be universal for each one of these clamps. But I am missing the female part of that, which looks suspiciously like that. I maybe should have just dismantled that. Anyhow, I might do that later, and then the camera will go onto anything, but that's not happening. So this is the GSX 1100 engine. I'm going to make a stand for this so it sits off the ground a little bit. It'll make it easy to move around when I need to move it, because I'll have things to hold, and when I want to work on it, it'll be nice and steady, because this naturally wants to tip forward. I've got it wedged in a way that it doesn't at the moment, but one push there and it will just go that way. So there's an engine mounting point here, and there's one there. Do I have a torch? Shed some light on the situation with a torch. I have two, and there are two here somewhere. I just had the bloody things. They're over there, the wrong side of the garage. Shit. So I'm mounting into that one, and there is also one here. This actually goes right through. Hopefully you can see that. So I can mount through and put a nut on the back. Now, how am I making it, you might ask? Well, it's this. I've got 6 lengths. I've got far too much, but we had it for another job, and we've decided to scrap the trailer. Now, I've taken some measurements. The centre of that hole is 125 mil, or 12.5 centimetres off the ground, so I'm making it 140, so it lifts up and comes over. What I'll then do, so I'm just cutting it now, trusty old hacksaw. I'm making that so it'll touch the ground. Then I will lift it up, put another 25 mil, which is the thickness of this, underneath as a cross brace. Then I'll move to the front one. So I'm going to have a piece that way with 2 uprights holding that. Then I'll have a piece this way with an upright holding that, and I'll have some extra length at the front. It'll all be welded together. I'm just using 25 by 25 mil box section. It's 2 mil thick, so it's really easy to cut. So I've just got a lot of cutting ahead of me at the moment, and once I've made all the pieces, it'll be back to doing some welding. Okay, so this is kind of what I've come up with for sitting against there, one on each side. Now, I came up with this problem I didn't think through. This is the bolt for mounting. This is the actual one. But if you mount it into there, there isn't any thread coming through. It's too thick. And I just didn't think. I haven't got any. Yes, I have. I've got some threaded rod, but I'm going to use the right thing anyhow. So to fix this problem, I did this. I just cut it at an angle. So now that'll go in there, mount through, and then there's enough there to do the same again on this side, because obviously that won't. So it was an afterthought. So now I'll do that to this one. I'll just slice it at an angle. I wish I'd thought of that earlier, because then I'd have just done it before drilling through and nearly breaking my wrist. So angles are cut on them, and I've lost the other one. There it is. So what I'm going to do, why did I pick that up by that? I'm going to tack weld this one on first, and then I'll mount it, and then I'll line up this one, bolt it all together, and then tack this one, take it off, weld it up. To be honest, welding's something I think everyone should learn. I don't know if they teach it in schools anymore. They didn't teach it in my school as such. They had the gear there. In my resistant materials, as it was called then, probably called woodworking or stuff. We don't have metalworking here. They did have a section where you could go and do stuff, and I believe in my year I was the only one to go in there because I showed more interest in what was in the room we weren't allowed in. And that's where I learnt to braze, which is just a big oxyacetylene torch and brazing rods, and then you just feed it in. And I did a couple of pipes and stuff. He said, if you stay on for sixth form, we'll teach you how to weld. And I said, to be honest, if I'm going to learn how to weld, I'll ask my dad and use our gear. He was looked at me a bit shocked. I'm like, yeah, you've seen the cars we pull in? Right, so, admittedly, this welding gear is a lot for this job. You don't need anything this extravagant. Get some gas on. But yeah, you can pick welders up a couple £100. You can pick them up dirt cheap, to be honest, if you get a second-hand one. This is a MIG welder. You've also got a stick welder or an arc welder, which uses a big stick. You don't really use them anymore. We use them for outdoor stuff. You know, when I used to do building trade, we used to use stick a lot because if it was windy, the gas would blow away. We'll feed 5, 6, yeah, that'll do. 3, yeah, I'll put it on 3 for now and test it. So that's just a magnet, holds everything at 90 degrees. Don't just trust one of them. I've also got an angle, which also I wouldn't trust on its own. Well, this is really easy. Now, when you weld, I fell for this first. If I welded across there all in one, that would actually go like that. The heat sinks in. So what you got to do is kind of tack it on either opposite ends and then weld it. So you can do it there and there, or you can do corners. Now I've got the magnet on, so that should hold it quite well to a degree. So what I'll probably do is tack this corner and that corner. Now let me put my mic over there, my camera over there. Also, welding helmet. You can get the old ones that you used to just hold in front of your face. You know, they work, but you might as well get this. I can see through this when I'm not welding, and then this up the front realises that I'm welding, and it makes the screen darker. It means you don't have to be up and down all the time, which is great. Okay, so that's the one that's welded on, and this is still loose. I've put a washer in. Well, it's actually one of the brackets for this bike, just to give me a little playroom, so if things don't align, it will still go in. Mounted it in. What I'm now going to do is tack these corners. I'll take the whole thing out and then fillet weld and everything it. So I'm one more step closer, and then it'll be onto the front. Okay, so that's the back piece made. Now you might think, now I've made this back piece, and why have I put it back on pieces of wood? Well, it's actually quite simple. The reason being, I now have to make the front pieces. All my measurements for the back were taken when it was on these pieces of wood, and it's as close to level on the sump as I can get it. So if I put that in there now, it will actually lift it up by 25mm, and the engine will be sitting like that. So if I do any measurements on the front, they'll be off. So I'm going to do the same measurements I did again here, and then I'll add the 25mm, which is this bottom piece. Although I don't think it'll be going that way, it'll be running that way. It'll basically run... Where's that other piece of steel gone? Oh, that's hot! Oh, fuck! Bastard! So where that sits in, like that, this will run here, and then I'll have another razor going up onto this. I'll actually have it, it won't be that long, it'll actually run further out to stop it any tilt, because it is precariously seated at the moment. It's actually not that bad, but yeah, it can tilt. So I'll just make these, I'll put a piece of metal here, roughly where I want, tack it in place, then I'll put the upright and I'll tack that in place. I'll take it all apart, and then I will run a cross member at the front as well to hold everything sturdy. Okay, so that's the back piece on, and I'm just making, this is 400mm, I can't remember the size of that, that's made to fit the gap. I wasn't sure whether to tack this end or tack this end first, but I'm going to go with this end because I think everything should be everything should be square at that. These are great things, these magnets. I did have another one. If I could find the other one, I would be laughing. So that's about right. So what I'm now going to do is tack up this end, and then I'll tack that end afterwards. So back to welding again. Because this end's suspended over nothing, I think I could clamp it. Oh, that works. Just using the magnet, look. Yeah, so that's what I'll do there. So yeah, what I'll do, I'll use the magnet to hold that there. Push that in, square that up, and then tack that in place. You know, if I do that, it doesn't really matter because I'm not... That could cause a problem. Once I tack it, I'll move things around so I can square everything right. They are the best welds I've ever done. Okay, yeah, it was a lot of work for the end result. All it is now it's off the ground. I can get under it to undo nuts and bolts and the sump and everything. But mainly I can slide it around the table on my own. Now what's that? That's a bit of scrap I missed. I can move it up, and also it sits better and can sit against the wall. Takes up a lot less space now. So at least I have this back. And yeah, 2 meters of box section. That's all I needed. I've still got 40 centimeters left. That's what I've got left. 20 centimeters. 50, yeah, 20. But yeah, so that's that. Need to get these inlet ports covered. And the sod 'em. But yeah, that's the cradle made for it, so I can work on that now without any problems. It'll stay still-ish, and I can clamp it down when it comes to wanting to, if I want to bench run it, I can clamp this down onto a bench, do all my wiring on a board behind it, and start it up. Right, there we go.